Hello, everybody. We're here, as you know, for the symposium. This has been a big run up and now we've arrived. What I will say for everyone joining, like if you could keep yourself on mute, that would be awesome. I'm going to have a chat today with Yia and Sam, but first I'd like to acknowledge that we are all on unceded land, wherever we are right now, and we pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging, and also that we're recognizing and celebrating the ongoing connections that traditional people have had with sky, land, and community forever, and also giving deep respect to the ongoing traditions of health knowledge and treatment and ceremony. You know, we as a group kind of tend to slide into some of those areas, but let's hold the awareness and respect that there have been many people before us that have been holding that space for many generations. And so I'm Hollie Baker-Boljevac. I'm the organizer of Wise Women Gathering with my team of awesome women. I live here on Walbunja Yuin land, and I also have someone that you'll probably meet today, but she's sleeping right now, the puppy called Sigfa. She was born out there on Yuin Monaro lands, but her grandmothers and mothers were born here. Or on this land, I should say, not just here. Her mother was born here. So she will appear throughout this weekend in various forms, I'm sure. So if I suddenly disappear off a screen, that's why. But I'd like to hand over to Yia now to introduce yourself and where you are in the world.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Yia Alias. I'm a ceremonialist living and working on Darug land. And I just want to say that we speak of it as being Darug land up here at the Colo, but just up the hill, it's Darkingyung, and just over on the west, it's Wiradjuri lands. And that's all to do with the way the rivers flow through this area. And the wherever there was rivers and creek systems such as these, there was shared community gatherings and shared spaces. So I'm very conscious that we live on the land of the impact of first colonisation being on the Hawkesbury River. And I want to acknowledge my dear friend and ceremonial sister, Buru. She's a Darug woman who has allowed me to speak today for the acknowledgement of our gathering over this symposium weekend. And at some point, Hollie will play the video that we've created as an opening ceremony. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we had invited Buru, but she wasn't able to come. She's doing important cultural business today and this weekend. And so we've got some little tastes of Buru with us instead.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
And then we have Samantha Hawker up there in a different place at the moment. You want to introduce yourself, Sam, where you are right now, about where you mostly spend your time as well?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Sam. I'm up in Meanjin at the moment, which you might know as Brisbane. So I'm up visiting family at the moment. So I'm on the lands of the Turrbal and Yagara people. And when I used to live up here, I didn't know whose lands I was on. And so I've been through a great big journey in that time from moving away from here, and now live down near Canberra and spend time on the lands of the Ngunnawal, Ngambri, Yarragu peoples. And I say many names in that space because due to colonisation, it's reasonably unknown as to whose it was, and you can listen to multiple different voices and hear many, many different nations. And so I feel like my role in that is to acknowledge all of those nations rather than just one. So yeah, I always say multiple nations. Sometimes these also include Yuin and Wiradjuri, because I've also heard from elders that that's the land that I tend to live with. And I'm not sure if I said that's near Canberra is where I tend to spend my time these days. So it's nice being up in the warm country up north right now when it's very, very cold down in Canberra this week.
Yeah. Yeah, you've missed the first frost, Sam. You did well.
Cool. That will be hard to come back to.
It's a big leap. So Yia really holds a great space as an elder in our Wise Women community, and and part of that support team in terms of, you know, the counselling support, but also the ceremonial support. And I think just the fact that Yia lives very close to the land that we hold the conference on kind of connects you into, you know, just some other elements that, like, say, Sam or I wouldn't have because we live so much further away. And also, Sam is part of our support team. She does a lot of little things, but mostly she keeps me in check. And she's willing to say, no, Holly, that's not what we're doing. That's not appropriate, or that needs to be a bit more thought out, and you need to calm down, all those sorts of things. So I value both of you women so much, and I love that we get to be here to start off this symposium. So I'd invite everyone else that's in the room at the moment just to kind of check in with yourself and notice where you are right now on the land, in the world. If you're not sure about, you know, the names of country or the people that you might be sitting on the land of, like, you can even Google that right now, or you can just sit with it and know that that's something that could be important to look up later. And sometimes I like to bring myself into like a tracking of where I've been. It's like a map in my own body and in my own self. And so take the moment to just like kind of root yourself to where you are now. And then maybe like in your mind's eye or in your awareness, just take yourself into the other places where you have lived. So if there's been other land that you've lived on, go to there next in your mind's eye and just notice where that maps in your body. It's almost like putting a little map pin in your body, right? Like, ah, there's that place. And then you can go further back. Ah, there's that place. And we start to map the lands that where we've been and the waters and the skies through our body so that we're really embodying that emplacement of space. Yeah. And you could take yourself all the way back to wherever you were born, what lands you were born on, and let that emplacement land in your body too. And this is a way that we can be in connection, even if we have to be, you know, in a building or in the city or wherever else the world takes us. Also, too, if you have to be away from land that you love, you can use this connective piece. And I find when I do that, my body just feels like really full and jazzed up with that connection, which is one of our big elements of Wise Women Gathering, right? And so we're coming together over the next few days in sort of a pre-conference before the pre-conference. We're laying down some foundations that will be the spaces that we'll meet in together. So these ways that we're connecting now in terms of each other, we connect to our land and our water and our sky, and then we connect to this community through this wild and crazy virtual world. But it's all about women coming together to share wisdom. And so we can do that here online. It's going to lay foundations for us to move forward into the conference for those of us that will get there and be there. And so maybe you would like to just now open your eyes if you had them closed and just kind of link back into the page and see who you see. And, you know, you can set yourself up so that you can see the gallery of all of us, or I think you should be able to set yourself up just for the speaker that's talking at the time. And I thought it would be nice to do a little woman connection vision as well. So this is an invitation to kind of put your own unraveled threads out into the world and connect with your women that are here. So what I'll get you to do if you want to, you know, there's never any rules. You don't have to do this, but the invitation is to just take a breath. And as you follow your breath down into your belly, just kind of let it spark something that's in your center. And these just have to be normal everyday breaths. There's nothing fancy about it. Just bringing those breaths down. And so each time you let it out, the spark gets a little larger as well. You bring the breath in, you let that spark grow, and it eventually grows into sort of like a ball of light, because, you know, it's sparky. And so each breath brings in that ball. And over time, you might start to notice that that ball is actually like a ball of yarn. It's a ball of yarn that's made of light. And so you'll just keep breathing normally, but we'll bring our attention to that ball of light that's a ball of yarn, and we'll kind of unravel the end. And now as you're focusing on that ball of light and the yarn, you can send it down through your center, through the seat that you're on, through the floor, through the ground, into the earth. It's like you're just taking one of your many threads down into the ground and sort of let it go out, just like a plant would root itself and spread out through the soil. And you might start to follow what feels like like a pathway or a river or a stream or something that takes you through the earth with your ball of yarn. And then you might notice that, oh, look, there's some other women along there as I cruise through the earth. And so then you're, just kind of like, it's like the little sparks of your light could go up to where those other women are. Yeah, there might be women you know, there might be women you don't know. Just let that thread float through. And we're all doing this together. And so as we're doing it, we're wrapping ourselves through and around the earth like we would if we were wrapping yarn around something and through something. And so, we're crisscrossing and we're running parallel, and we could eventually get to this place where all of our balls of yarn of light are wrapping the earth and holding us in all those different places and connecting to all those women that are important to us. So you can just let that kind of be there and know that that's what's happened. And even if you don't see it in your mind's eye, you just know that that's what we're doing here together, making that nice wrap around. Then I'd invite you to come back into the center, because sometimes people feel like, oh, but what about the other end of my yarn? And so the other end of your yarn that's in the ball that's still in your center, it can go upward. And so you can bring your attention and let that ball of yarn go up. It goes up through your heart cavity, up through the top of your head, out, right up through the roof and out into the stars, past clouds, right out to where it's dark in those stars. And just in the same way, it can sort of root itself out, spreading a path that's just yours. And out there in the stars is the women that have been here before and the women that are yet to come. And so you can connect to all your women on your lineages that you would like to connect to. And you can connect to the women that haven't arrived yet. And they're all out there in the stars. And we're just noticing there's little sparks and tweaks in the star lines. And from here, we just bring ourselves back into our own center. Now we have these threads going down and these threads going up, and look at you, you're like a pathway between the heavens and the earth. And you hold that space in between, and here are a circle of us doing that together. Yeah, this is our connection. And so as we move into this symposium now, we've kind of connected to all the different directions, we've connected to each other. We've created quite a web out there in the stars and around the earth. Now, at any point, you can pull those yarn ravels back in if you'd like to, but also energy is energy, and you could just be hanging out there for a while and see what juiciness you collect, like those roots collecting all the nourishment. And so then when you're ready, come back into our space and just look around at the faces again, and maybe look around your room and notice how it's changed now that you're connected to all that there is. And give yourself a nice exhale. And here we are. We have got so much delicious stuff to share this weekend. Some of the women have pre-recorded, some are going to be live, and we've got little snippets and things too. So in this opening space, I really wanted to acknowledge the importance of understanding the land that we meet on. That's a piece that we really hold strongly at Wise Women Gathering. And I invite you, because you do live so close to the land where we hold the conference, I know that you can speak nicely around some of that first contact information and things that people may not know, and just whatever you think is important for us to know, because as women come into the conference and we land on that land, it's nice to kind of have some history there, right, to understand what it is that we're walking into. So just whatever you think's relevant. Could you share with us around that?
Yes, I can. And with a great understanding of my very limited knowledge and just, looking back into what we have through first settler accounts, we actually, that the gathering is on the Hawkesbury, which is part of the river systems which experienced the first impact of colonisation, the decimation of people. The first decimation of Aboriginal peoples happened all around this area from the Sydney Basin, and because roads and that they weren't yet built to be in Sydney, if you know what I mean, and go further, the river systems became the super highways, and agriculture got set up once the food sources were taken away from the original peoples to put Western agricultural practices, and has been a lot of violence and a lot of harm and quite almost what appeared to be almost annihilation of those people. And so it is called Wiseman, Wiseman's area down there. And I have delved a little bit into Wiseman himself. Not a great chap, but it's interesting that our gathering, it always blew my mind that this Wise Woman gathering found itself on this land, and it feels like an antidote that we can start creating. And of course, we can't undo those traumas of the past and the harms of the past. But what we can do by gathering together is to create new stories on the land, stories with acknowledgement and respect to our original people and their incredible culture of caring for land, and create new stories with integrity, and also taking responsibility for ourselves and for the land that we're on and our communities. And I'm really, truly, and utterly humbled by my Indigenous friends and teachers at the generosity of spirit to support us coming together as a common humanity on the lands where their ancestors have been harmed. I come from a trauma culture myself, so I have a resonant frequency via my mother, who is still alive, who witnessed the slaughter of most of her people in her in the remote village that she lived in Greece. And I have an experience of what it feels like to be carrying the trauma within the blood cells and in the way that we live life. It is incredibly damaging. But like I said, I am blown away by the incredible generosity of spirit. And as we come together on those Wise Woman lands, we have a beautiful direct sister to hold. She's a bloodline to country, and we can reweave some threads, but obviously we're walking in a new way. So we take what we can that's generously offered to us, and that we move forward with all of our gifts together to create a beautiful new way of being together as women, families, communities, with our responsibility to each other and land. So I think that just about covers it, but I might just say very, very briefly that I'm very strong on that we should all know the history of the area that we live on. Do a dive in, find out more. When you find out more, you realize that you are also part of the story of the land, and it gives you it gives you, it's really hard to explain. It makes you kind of more grounded and gives you the consciousness of walking with more integrity. And I had a synchronicity yesterday. I went looking for something in this antique shop on one of the little cabins here, and the man there was reading out loud some settlers' accounts from old Windsor town. And I thought, I am buying that book, but he wouldn't let me buy it. He just got it as a collection from a historian, and I photographed all those books because I'm hungry to learn. I want to know all the different levels, because not only do we have the decimation of original peoples on, well, I can't say decimation because they're going strong, as we know, is that there were so many convicts that were displaced and flung onto these lands that also never had their proper ceremonial processes either. And that pain of displacement is also upon these lands. So I feel very grateful to be able to be at the Wise Women Gathering on the lands of the Darug people, and you know, be part of these pathways forward. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
well said.
I
That's
think,
great. Yeah, go Sam.
yeah.
I was just going to ask you to something that I heard you say quite a few years ago, so I'm not sure if you've changed your space now, but I think it might have been the first time I was at Wise Women's Gathering, and you were speaking about the valley that we were in and how she holds us there. And I'm just wondering if you might be willing to speak about the particular lands that the gathering is held on, and how
Yeah. Look, the things all right, actually, thank you. I'm not sure if I can answer that question quite in the way that you're asking it, but you've reminded me of something that I truly wanted to share. And I had just slipped my mind till you said that. Let's remember that we all belong to the earth. And unless we pay proper acknowledgements of our history and where we are, not only on this land, but our own histories as well and our own bloodlines, that there's a beautiful, magnificent, exquisite, intelligent being doing her journeys through the universe that we are part of. And when we start opening up to the intelligence of this extraordinary earth, there's an incredible magical presence comes through, and it creates a reciprocal experience. It's total magic, but we can't enter into that without, it's kind of like a shamanic journey. We can't just take that. We can't. We have to be in relationship to it and to do the right and honorable things with integrity. And I have, because across the creek there, we have our other community from the Grove that have been bringing people there for years. And what I experienced there one day was all the children that come there and play in the creek, the exact creek that we are at Webb's Creek. That is what the land needs. It's the children, the laughter, the re-engagement. And I also had a really very powerful, strong sense one time that once upon a time there were the sounds of the original people on that land with their children laughing and playing in those beautiful creek systems. And that was, you know, it's very sad. And what can we do? It's an incredible paradox that we find ourselves in this story together. So together we, you know, we are responsible now with what we know to create things differently. And when I was pondering all of that, I looked up in the sky. It possibly was the first Wise Women Gathering, I'm not sure, but this huge rainbow came straight over that part of the creek into the gathering space. So I do, as I know that Buru does in her way. We both, or many of us women see these as signs, as clues, you know, as clues to that magic we speak of, despite the science of rainbows.
We can have both. We can have the science
Yes.
and the clues. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So that felt like a great space of encouragement. And since then on that land, there have been many other ceremonies happen with Buru included as well, myself and others. And that land has been, has had a lot of attention built into it over these past few years, which includes the Wise Women Gathering.
Yeah, that's great. It's probably that was a great answer, wasn't it, Sam?
Thanks, Sam, for asking that part.
I know, like, even from my own experience, but I know this is something we hear a lot from women, that you know, like, you speak so well to it, yeah, because you've done a lot of research, you've met a lot of people, you've really like found those connections and relationships, but that can seem like a long way away for women who are only just starting to sort of get their head around like what we're talking about. And I know that, Sam, you have some really, also like good connections, strong connections with people in country. And so I wondered if you could speak to a bit about, like not just looking at the map to find out who owns your country, but like the actual connection to eldership and having relationship, and just from your own experience, like what's worked for you in terms of how you felt in integrity to come into some of those spaces. I think that's a nice addition to what we're talking about for people that are starting wherever they are.
Yeah, it's a very complex question to answer. And yeah, I would encourage you to jump in with anything that you wish to add as well, and Hollie as well, of course, and anyone else. But listening basically is the place where I would always start from. And even now, like I'm nowhere near the beginning of my journey, but at the beginning of this journey of like coming out of colonization, that we're all cultured in whatever family we've been brought up in. That's the culture that we're in on this continent that we live upon, and world that we live in, really. So finding people and places to listen to, I guess, is always the starting point, in my opinion. And that isn't just about people as well. That's also sitting your bum on the earth and listening to her, and deeply connecting with her, and connecting with trees, connecting with the animals that you live with, seeing the lizards that are passing around you as beings that belong to where you are, that it's not like that you don't own or anything like that. Like there is no such thing as that. We need to scrap that bloody idea that we've been taught. And that's a huge long journey, but every step that we can take is huge in that. I was speaking with my 4-year-old niece yesterday, actually. We were driving along the road and she was saying that the trees were talking. And I was like, okay, so let's wind down our windows and we'll listen to the trees. Like, we're going really fast. Like, how can we listen to the trees if we're going this fast? Can you hear them, Emily? I don't know. Like how do we do this? Like, how do we slow down to tree time? How do we slow down to rock time? Like, their rocks are even slower than trees. I don't know where else to go now.
Did she have an answer, Sam? I want to know what the 4-year-old said about listening to the trees.
But there are no answers, Hollie.
Okay.
Well, there are no like just one answers, are there?
Like, yeah.
There is no one answer. It changes all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
It's a very important part.
Yeah.
That's a very important part that you speak of, Sam, is this deep listening that that's coming real through the Indigenous teachings and learnings on this land. And I know that Min Meyer speaks about go and sit in your sit spot. It's not I think we have this idea of meditation with, this really big intention, where it's still kind of in a way, kind of a hierarchical model of over, doing something over, rather than allowing that energetic to speak through you. And then that's that same energetic that you speak of that has brought me here as a caretaker of this land was that deep listening. And that was very powerful because it was palpable and it came out all through my body. And I'm not usually one of those women. I'm quite cerebral on many levels and more in those air levels. So to actually have a full body experience was quite a shock, and it called me up to bring birthing ceremony onto this land. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then I'm still serving that call up, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. And I wanted to add a bit of voice, actually. And we've got some video from Boru where she was doing the video that her and I did for Decolonizing the Circle course. But I thought this piece was relevant to what we're talking about and everyone might want to hear it. So let's see if I can make this work. Okay, so this is Bru coming from her home.
You know, if people start to connect with their community in their everyday lives, in their everyday area, because there are a lot of blackfellas around, and a lot of us are just waiting for people to come and connect and find us, or so that we can start working together.
Yeah, nice.
So go out and make friends with the local community, the rightful people, of course, the bloodlines to country. Yeah, or even if it's not bloodline to country, they may know bloodlines to that country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hearing you say again, is just relationship. It's relationship. Start with relationship with the land and build relationships in the community that you're in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what
and
about,
it may be a bit tough at first, you know, it could be a bit tough because there has been a lot of trauma and distrust and all that kind of stuff. But if they feel you, mob feels you before they see you. Okay, so if people are coming in with the right intention, then they will feel that, and people will start to feel more comfortable with others, you know, especially if they don't have a big mix with white fellas, you know, on the daily or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's about starting at the grassroots for all of us, coming together that way, building relationship and trust with each other.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
and what about
you know,
you keep going. Sorry, my question.
Yeah, sorry,
can
I
wait.
was going to say, for example, right, in Sydney, it's had so many different mobs come in. So it's hard to trust, and because it's the first place of colonisation, right, as well. So there's all that trauma there, you know, and then we have a wave of others coming in from other areas, and they're in certain positions or whatever, or they look blacker or whatever it is, you know. So it's like a second wave of being pushed to the side. And there's a lot of mob out there who are really in touch with spirit and our culture, our ancestors and our old people, but are not being seen at this stage.
Because like you said, they're not in those positions where if you look them up on the internet, you find them, sort of thing.
Yeah. So it's about going and talking to people and linking with people and connecting with people.
Yeah, and you're talking about things that take time.
Same way anyone builds a community, right? Yeah. And so if we look at it like, we would look at country as being like our home, our house. So you would think of in the terms of your actual house where you live, your residence, and how you would like people to approach you through that, or how would visitors, guests to your house, approach you. So it's through respect, coming to the host, the owner of the house first, and speaking to them.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Sam and Nia?
Yes, I've got a few words bubbling up, and I remember having some great conversation with Buru as well about the acknowledgement of the host of, you know, where you live and all of that. But I want to say that fundamentally, if we're all caring for country, and country is a responsibility that we can all partake in, for those people who are new and not certain about the ceremonial space, about the acknowledgement space, how to enter into it, well, there's things that we can do, like especially people that are caring for their land, is through fire management practices, through caring for country practices. For example, Buru invited me to a Darug, I believe it was Darug. Yes, it was Darug, but I'm just wondering if there were more people. Darug women's camp to do with the, what do you call the fire work? What do we call the fire?
Cultural burn. Is that what you mean?
The cultural burns. Thank you. the cultural burns. And it was a lovely organic sort of camp. And of course, because I knew Buru, it was a little bit easier for me to enter in. And it was local, local down here out at Yarramundi. And so, yeah, just starting to see the women and starting to see the other inverted commas white women, because I'm not quite white, there, who also want to care for their country as well. And the gathering of these knowledge systems of how do we care together and learn from people that know so much about caring for country. And as we've seen of these horrendous bushfires, and Hollie and myself, and I know many others in the community have really experienced, the impact of that. How can we better prepare and manage? And, there may be systems that we might need to really challenge, like we've had to challenge the RFS a few times when they've tried to not sign off on our cultural burns here. And the culture burn isn't just coming together to learn burning techniques. Is you learn stories when you're together, you exchange, it's so beautiful. It's, to be honest, for me as a first generation Greek Australian that only met my Greek family in their remote village when I was 22, it feels so similar to me. The culture protocols feel so similar. So warm and engaging and respectful to our elders. And I'm so sorry that we live in a culture of where we just assume every older person around us, has got Alzheimer's or dementia, which I know that many do. And I'm really sad at the state of eldership, in the Western world, where the elders are farmed off to prepare for their exit, and I'm sorry if that's a bit triggering for others, but I feel it really deeply in my heart, that we do need to have more engagement with older people. So yeah, I think reach out, and there will be programs and all sorts of things around now that and council has lots of things too going, many councils, and yeah, be involved, like Buru said, and start building relationships.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of crossover there with what we're doing with Wise Women Gathering and everything you've just said. Yeah. Do you have anything to add, Sam?
Yeah, I guess just adding to what Yia just said, like it's such a great initial engagement point, is to just have those really simple exchanges where it's like actually a workshop that you're going to, whether it be a cultural burn workshop or some other exchange workshop, where there's an appropriate exchange already going on, like that. There's anyone who knows me knows that I'm quite anti-capitalist, but there's also this space of if I'm going to pay money to something, then I want it to be something real. And if there's ever an opportunity for me personally to exchange money with blackfellas, I will absolutely take that up for as much as I possibly can at that time. To me, that's about trying to flip the balance that we have created as white people in this land. I'm not sure if I'm quite explaining myself very well there, but like a workshop is something really, is a really simple way to do that. Like you've already got a monetary exchange going on. And so that means that the people who you're taking time and knowledge from have already put an exchange value on that, and you can do your part in that. As Yia was saying before, like there is so much generosity of the people of these lands to continue to step towards us as white folks. It brings me to tears every time that I think about it. It's completely fucking incredible to me that people can still keep stepping forward in that, given what we have continually done to them on these lands. And so personally, I am always looking for the give back exchange wherever that can happen. I don't want to just take up your time and listen to your knowledge. I want to have anything that I can give back to you, whatever that is in the situation I'm in at the time.
And that can include also the purchasing of art as well. There's some beautiful artists among us, you know, and yeah, sharing of that the meaning of the art as well. So it becomes more than the exchange as well. So there's something that flows and continues on. Yeah, absolutely. What you said, Sam, is just really getting into that. Well, capitalism is capitalism, isn't it? Everybody needs to financially survive and thrive. And so the appropriate exchange is important, you know. And there's so many things, you know, like weaving circles, yarning circles. Yeah, just I believe because our country hasn't held collectively proper acknowledgement and respect, that people feel this sense of not really belonging to the land. There needs to be through the, and I'm not going into political spaces here, but there does need to be leadership which actually speaks to all of that, so the general populace can start feeling like they can belong and take responsibility. And I feel that slight caution now, people feel that sort of, you know, colonizer guilt. But what's that colonizer guilt going to do? I spoke to an elder, and I'm sorry, I can't remember her name because I have a bit of a memory glitch at times, a beautiful woman from, I met at Seven Sisters, the ceremonialist there. And I had said to her, as Greek Australians, when we first came here, as coming from a hospitality culture, we had absolutely no concept in the 50s of any original people here, not at all. And that generation of migrants probably still don't, and maybe only just getting the idea of that now. And I said, you know, how sorry I was for that. And coming from the Melbourne area, she said to me, you know what, love, the fact that all you wogs didn't know was really good, because you didn't put us into any space of victim or anything like that. And I thought, wow, that was a very interesting perspective, I thought. A very interesting perspective. And I love Indigenous perspective because it just gets your brain cells and just shakes them up a little bit, and you start to see things from a different lens, you know. And that's what I really enjoy about these interactions. And yes, of course, what you're saying, Sam, is truly that listening. Yeah, because without it, we miss so much.
Excellent. Yeah. So this is, I'm super aware that if anyone's just arrived, they're like, oh, here's a bunch of white women talking about Indigenous perspectives. So just to clarify, we, you know, one of our women that we work with quite a bit, Buru, who, you know, I don't know, we need to find like a name for her within our team, Wise Women. Yeah, you can think about that. But Buru can't be here with us today, so we're just sort of sliding in some elements of Buru while we kind of have these discussions. And it's more about, we're not trying to tell you how to do Indigenous stuff on your wherever you live. That's not our role at all, but we're just kind of giving you some hints as to like how you can find that space for yourself. Yeah. And that's really what Wise Women Gathering is about, like sharing education so that you can take it on, because we don't want traditional wisdom to die. And that's all the traditional wisdom, yeah, the Indigenous knowledge from here on this continent, but also, you know, our own lineages of Western herbalism, our lineages of women's mysteries across all of the world, making sure that that doesn't disappear. Yeah, that's the number one vision for Wise Women Gathering, to hold and continue that sharing of traditional wisdom, and in all of its ways. And we do that through those ongoing relationships with educators and attendees and partners and each other. Yeah. And so it's a continuing community, in the same way that we said, you know, relationships take time. This community has taken time, and it takes shape each year. It takes its own shape in different ways. And so we give thanks for all of that, and give thanks for those who are willing to hold and share that knowledge, but also who will look to a new perspective. You know, it's not just as simple as staying in the old, but bringing that forward in a new way. And for those who are willing to open their hearts and mind to to let go of difference in the light of all the similarities that we carry by living here in this time, in this place, and right now. And we're grateful for the lessons that come with community. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's a bit crunchy, and that's okay. And of course, we give deep thanks for the earth and all she provides, and the moon and the sun and how they watch over us. And, we give thanks for the eternal wisdom that's offered through the grace of the cycles of life. And that's something we see show up over and over again in our conversations in Wise Women spaces. Yeah. And we ask that all who attend this symposium or who find us later on the internet will find information and a heart space that invites you into an infinite self that is here to be present with joy and empowerment on all these levels that we're talking about. And just honor the sharings. We're going to have so many beautiful words come through over the next 3 days. And it's very exciting to be able to bring these voices together in the ways that they are. Of course, you're not going to get any of the information that they're actually sharing in their conference presentations, but they've got so much else to speak about too, which is, that was the nervousness walking into this event. Like, how do we come here and like hold the space of the work they do without them having to give away any of their secrets from their sessions that they're preparing for the conference in 2 weeks? And so far, I think I've done about 10 pre-records and it's worked. It's working. It'll be fine. Because there's so much passion there. There's so much, the breadth of each woman's work is actually so large that one session is just this tiny little slice of it. But we're talking about whole areas and whole just like lifetimes of information, right? And wisdom and education. And so I wonder if you and here have anything to add there, Sam, or shall I go on to start talking about our 4 streams? And I would love to hear about where you sit with the 4 streams. Yeah. Okay, so
I'm just very excited about the gathering. Basically, it's my favorite one because it's real, it's honest, and I'm so delighted that the actual foundation of it really was brought forward through the herbal stream, and that feels like a really good anchor. And onto that, the women's mystery stream, which is, really brings women into their self-empowerment and understanding of themselves as cyclic beings. That is really the greatest teaching for all women on the planet, is to have that understanding, and all the other things that have evolved from that, the wellness space and the building of community space. So yeah, my fave of the women's gatherings, absolutely, because it's educating. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Hello, Monica, we see you. Monica's another member of our support team, everybody. She's just arrived in the room. So the 4 streams: plant wisdom, holistic conscious living, women's mysteries, and cultivating community. I feel like Sam is probably in a really good space to speak to holistic conscious living and cultivating community. And yeah, you just already have started talking about plant wisdom and women's mysteries. So just go, like, what do you want to say about those streams and why they are important? Yeah, adding to what he has already just said. Either of you.
You want to go first, yeah?
I think I did it. It's you, Sam.
Right. Holistic conscious living stream. To me, that's all about bringing it all together. About how all the different parts actually of our lives actually interact, and they all have impacts. And one word that really comes to mind for that is embodiment. To me, that's what the holistic conscious living is about. It's embodiment of whatever it is. And cultivating community, well, it's as simple as we can't do it alone. We can't. We all fall over, particularly if we're alone. And then if there's no one to help us up, well, we stay down for longer. But a big part of that is the relearning. Like most of our cultures, we've forgotten how to community. And so it's a really big unlearning and relearning of how to flow with that and find those balances and compromises and how to show up in the shit.
Perfect. Yeah. And it does come, right? It's the shit shows up. We expect that. One of my supervisors always says, like, this is life. Life is here. We're doing that all the time, but shit shows up, it pops up, and we have a choice to like grab it when it pops up and work with it and follow it all the way until we kind of unravel as much of it as we can, or we shove it back down and then it just comes up even harder and later somewhere else in the pile of shit. And it might look like a tomato, but you don't know what kind of poison is in that tomato until you eat it. So that's, you know, the space that we hold at Wise Women Gathering is as much for self-development as it is for these educational pieces. You know, you can tick off your professional development, you know, lines on plant wisdom or whatever else you need, but also you can just grow so much in yourself just within like a few days of being in community, in relationship. That's actually where what drives the growth, I would say. Yeah. All right, so here's how this symposium thing is going to work, everybody. Each hour, we have a different woman showing up to talk about her work and, you know, sort of what she'll be bringing to Wise Women Gathering 2 weeks from now. And each of these conversations are recorded, and so they'll be made available on the symposium pages each evening. Yeah, so as I come out of these interviews, then I'll quickly get everything up online. And so from whatever time I can get that done, they will then be available that you can go back and watch, or you can send your friends to. They'll still be in that symposium world on our Self-Crafted Life platform. We actively are not using the metaverse because that's one of our little activist pieces around holistic conscious living and creating proper community, right? So by doing that, it means that we still can hold and own all of this content, and that means that the educators have access to it themselves forever as well. And we won't be charging for any of this content ever. After the conference, it will show up on YouTube, but it will also still be held on the symposium pages for people to go in and out of. Now, between each of the sessions, I'll be announcing a coupon that's usable for a ticket sale. Yeah, so there's some pretty big situations there. There's like 50% off, there's $150 off, it's $200 off kids tickets. So they will just be announced, and as they start to fill, you know, like once that the amount of those coupons are gone, then that coupon will be deleted and it won't be accessible anymore. But those coupons won't be on the recordings, so you have to actually be here to get those. That's our little promo trick. That's how great establishment of capitalism.
Hollie, you're not meant to tell people the secrets.
And there will be a lunch break because I need a break through the day. But in those lunch breaks, I thought we could play some panels from the last few years. So we've got these beautiful panels of women just sharing the most exquisite information. And so they will be coming in through the day too. And then I've got just little snippets and bits and pieces that I found in our archives that I hope that we can share too. So that's what it's going to look like. If you want to send your friends to like sign up and, you know, kind of go through the symposium link, it's selfcraftedlife.mn.co. So the MN is for Mighty Networks, and that's where that's sort of the platform that holds us together. .co. And pre-records have been amazing. I'm just so enamored by everyone's passion. Like it's been so energizing. And that's what it's going to look like. Okay, so we're going to play a little video now that Gia and Buru put together. I think that'll be a really beautiful way to just attend to this last piece of blessing ourselves into the symposium before we then kick into years first off the rank in the interviews. So the coupon that I'm going to share with you right now for a 50% off adult ticket for today is Frida50. So it's like Friday, but it's got no Y. So Frida50, all capitals. If you go to the website now and you want to purchase your adult ticket, it'll only work on the adult tickets. It'll give you 50% off. And that is quite a significant discount, obviously. At the moment, the tickets are sitting at $720 for our last minutes. So I don't know, work that out. What's that? $360 you'll get it for. Yeah, pretty awesome. So let's play Buru's piece. Sam, I know you need to go. So let's give you great thanks for being here. Yes, yeah.
It's a collaboration between the three of us through a download that came via me on the land, and now we've co-created together.
Perfect.
This is
beautiful.
what collaboration looks like.
Yeah, and I mean, I actually haven't watched the video yet. I'm going to watch it with everyone else. Does it have the artwork that we had on our stage last year? Is that shown in the video?
Yes, that'll be, I believe,
Beautiful.
at the end. I haven't seen it for a little while, but it'll be
Yeah,
there. The
but
new
it's
way
in there.
walking.
Yeah, so that
It's in there.
piece that some of you will remember, or you might have seen photos if you weren't at the conference, the beautiful piece that we had sort of on the right-hand stage of the stage, a little altar there, that is part of the inspiration of this video, right? It all kind of
Yes, it is.
works together.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
The
beautiful.
video does go for 6 minutes. I'm aware that we're starting at
That's all right. We're in the
10.
flow. We're in the women's flow of time.
So I'm not sure if you wanted to start it at exactly 10, if that makes sense. So if people are jumping on, they're not cutting through, but we're almost there anyway.
Yeah, well, let's do that. Let's give our little blessing. So my blessing is, may you enjoy this weekend of sharing. May you unveil the wisdom that's in your very cells, and may you find new and old friends through this great work that we're about to undertake. Sam, you got a blessing for everyone?
Yeah, I think you should introduce Sigfa now, by the way.
Oh, can you see her? I can't see myself on the camera.
The thing is, we can't actually see her. And so it's like,
In
oh,
my arms. You're like, what is happening with Hollie's hand there? This is Sigfa. Sigfa is 9 weeks old. She's the granddaughter of my old therapy dog, and she is in the biting stage. So you're going to see my arms doing all sorts of crazy things this weekend while I'm managing that. We've got many a toys here spread out. Yeah, what's your blessing, Sam?
May you all find a moment of deep connection today.
Nice. Yeah.
May may your listening and experiencing of all of this amazing wisdom inspire your own spark even further. So that you can be inspired with that courage that resides within you to go and create and do and add more to your tool bag, to your toolkit. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, we're going to move into the video of New Way Walking, and when we come back, we'll be with you. Remember that your current coupon is FRIDA50, which will give you 50% off the adult ticket. Here we go.
Buruan. Gui. Nalawan winamad ninganu mujin. Ninganuga numbari budbud. North. Come here. Sit close by your ancestors and be in your loving heart. Balgayalang. Ningana jananga mujin nangami. Gili jananga gumara nangami muru. South. We are our ancestors dreaming. Light our spirit dreaming path. Bayamari. Nalawa Nari Yalamandi Tiati. West. Sit. Listen to the teacher learnings. Burui. Biamulali. Gui. Budri Wingaru. Dalang Yanma. East, no more sickness. Come here, good thinking, language, walk, and be strong in your spirit.
We all belong to the earth, and with this belonging comes responsibility. Responsibility to care for this precious land, and responsibility to care for each other. We acknowledge those that walked before us, and for those yet to come, this prayer is for you. Each action, each thought, each step taken is creating the future. May the waters of life flow clear and clean. May the air be fresh and uncontaminated. Have what you need, not what you greed, to nourish you. And may the land be tended as the living being she is. May kindness and respect for life lead your actions, and may the elders feel respected and the children loved. We pray that you have wisdom teachers to share skills and knowledge with you, so that your service in the world can anchor in good deeds. May your souls be fed by joy and beauty. May you feel loved. As your ancestors, we call upon the spirit of this earth to anchor this prayer into the continuum of life, to give you heartful courage to meet whatever you encounter along your path. Let us all walk gently into the future with mindful, respectful presence for all of life, and may the path of beauty illuminate the way.
Amazing. So beautiful. So I'm just going to hit the stop record and then the start record again so that we can separate these sessions. Give me one sec.